All right, you lovely people, welcome back. We're going to finish this up. So I hope by now, at least, you have a better sense about how justification in ethics works. And as I mentioned at the end of the last video, don't worry if you don't got everything yet, because hey, we're going to keep practicing this throughout the whole semester. That's what this course is. This course is one big, long exercise in moral reasoning. We're constantly practicing it. And again, every module is built around having you think about, practice, and witness, seeing how this is done. And I really do think we learn how to do ethics. We learn how to practice ethics by, practicing ethics, by engaging in moral reasoning together. And so keep practicing at moral reasoning with your classmates on Twitter. And you, of course, will do it on the exams as well. But Twitter is probably more fun, less scary, I hope. But anyhow, let's finish up this week on moral relativism by talking just a bit about how the emotions fit into moral reasoning. Because it seems like if we're, if the name of the game is some kind of moral cognitivism, what happens to our heart? What happens to our feelings? It's a lot of philosophers are accused of being, rather heartless and cold and calculating about these things. And that's not good. And yeah, some philosophers are like that. I hope I'm not like that. People like, normal people tend to like David Hume because he's the subjectivist. He's talking about feelings. And by all accounts, he was probably a really fun guy to I would love to hang out with this guy. Sounds like he'd play pool. We'd drink scotch. And he's Scottish, so he's going to have like the most awesome accent in the world.
Oh my God. Ook an angel.
Oh my gosh, it would be so much fun. Because he sees feelings and passions as so valuable, and we need to keep that in sight. That emotion and passion matter. We don't want to give them up at all. And so, how can we see the role of emotion in ethics? And so, I'll just talk a little bit about this. There's probably other ways, but I'll give at least kind of one sense in which I think emotional intelligence is very valuable for ethics. And so I think we can notice first and foremost is that when we make ethical claims, it's usually not done in a classroom. Well, it's done in a classroom, but usually when we say something's good, bad, right, wrong, this is something outside in the world that we're witnessing. And that's bringing, passion because you care about something. That's why you're saying these claims. When Professor Gray here in this class says slavery is wrong, yeah, it's a class. I'm saying it's an example. I don't have too much passion about it because, I'm just using it as an example. No, I think slavery is bad. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just using it as examples. But if someone is saying this out in the real world, it's clearly in response to something, and there's probably going to be anger, frustration. There's going to be emotions there. It's not going to just be said with cool, like, oh, slavery's wrong. No, it's going to be said, MF, swear. This is bad. We need to change it. And it's about anything, whether it's police violence or it's about social unrest or whatever. You're caring about something there, maybe for you guys, it's more about you're jerking us around, taking our money and making us take classes online. I didn't pay for DeVry, boom, boom, boom. That's emotion. You're saying what the university is doing. Don't show that the university I said this. They might not like that. That's said with passion. There's feelings there. So yeah, we express anger at, say, injustice when we call that out, or we have pride and admiration when we see someone doing something good. Again, I'm still always mystified almost with the students I've had in the past who really liked CEO James Burke and his response to the Tylenol crisis that I mentioned a few weeks ago. Students were putting his picture on Twitter and stuff. And I was like, wow, okay, you really like this guy. And that's cool. Nothing wrong with that. But wow, it really shows how emotions can get tied up when we see someone doing the right thing, especially in business where we just assume they're all greedy. It's nice to see someone with integrity and values act. And we can express, emotions of content or resentment when we see bad things happening. Emotions just seem to be there driving, or at least driving too strong, but they're there. And there might even be a visceral experience. So that, where we have the, where we really have the feels. I love this language people use. When we have an emotion of anger, that's fine, but often that's coupled with something very visceral and physical, where we feel it in our belly, that fire, and we tense, and they're like, jaw clenches, and it's like, control yourself. Control yourself.
Behave yourself.
That we're physical. Our blood boils. We get physically tense. Or when something's nice, we're relaxing. We're leaning back. Our arms are just like, that's cool. I can handle that. We not only do we feel emotionally, but we feel quite physically. And trying to deny, ignore, or repress these emotions, that's probably impossible. As you'll learn as you get older, when people are trying to ignore, repress, or deny their emotions, we can all usually tell that something's going on. We might be able to even accurately guess the emotion, but one of our human superpowers is detecting when someone's going through something, even if we don't fully understand it. We might detect that they're really trying to push something deep down so that it can just come out during Thanksgiving, of course, when we all yell at each other. Your family doesn't do that? Oh, okay, just mine then. But anyway, as any therapist will tell you, that repression, that denying, that ignoring of emotions is not healthy. I mean, my dad's a therapist, and he would often say to me, because I was a pretty rambunctious, I guess, child, I'll leave it at that. And he would often say to me, David, it's okay to be angry. There's nothing wrong at all with being angry. That's normal. Anger is normal. It's an emotion. It's a human experience. There's nothing wrong with that. But what is right or wrong is how you deal with that emotion. What do you do with it? And I know you guys have probably heard that. Maybe even it's a cliche by now, but for 12-year-old David, I wasn't Professor Gray back then, just David. That was something that I really had to process and learn, because again, it's one of those things that's easy to say. It's okay to be angry. It's how you deal with it that matters. But it's actually acting on that. That took me decades maybe to really fully appreciate that and have, again, this emotional intelligence, this way to understand and process my feelings instead of trying to ignore, repress, and deny them, because they would just explode. And so instead, what we have to do is acknowledge and recognize our emotions. That is the key idea of emotional intelligence, is recognizing and acknowledging our feelings. And again, it's a life skill. It's not easy, especially when you're younger, because the emotions are powerful and it takes a lot of practice to learn and acknowledge these things. But I will say it's worth it, especially for ethics. Like I said, I think emotional intelligence is crucial for ethics, because I see that acknowledging and recognizing our emotion, it creates opportunities for us in ethics that are very valuable. That they can lead to bad stuff, as we've talked about, but it can also be very valuable. And that's the life skill here. That's the skill of emotional intelligence. So what are the things I see? There's, of course, many, but I'll mention two opportunities I think are very valuable. First, acknowledging and recognizing our emotion creates the opportunity for self-discovery. What I mean by self-discovery is just that you can learn something very valuable about yourself. I'll take a silly example. Because I mentioned this earlier, if seeing people wearing white shoes after Labor Day makes you viscerally angry, you're just like, I can't believe they're doing it. If it makes you that angry, well, you've learned something pretty valuable about yourself and how you see the world. Very profound way you see the world. If it's making you that angry, seeing people wearing white shoes after Labor Day, whoa, okay, indeed. But what you do with that knowledge, that's up to you. You might just go on with your life. Okay. You might freak out, yell at them. There's lots of possible things you do with that knowledge. Probably less likely you'll freak out if you're really like, wow, I really don't like people wearing white shoes after Labor Day. But you might do something else. And that leads us to the second opportunity. So the first opportunity, again, you can have the opportunity for self-discovery when you're going through a very strong emotion, seeing how you see the world and what matters to you. The second opportunity we get from that acknowledgement and recognition of emotions is a very valuable opportunity for normative reflection. It's a normative reflection. So it is, this is something connected to ethics as a normative. So normative reflection is just where you can ask yourself, was it okay that I had that reaction? Was that the right way? You can think maybe getting angry at people for wearing white shoes, you might think, well, maybe that was a bit of an overreaction. Maybe I shouldn't have been that angry about it. Wearing these white shoes after Labor Day. And similarly, you can reflect on whether your attitude, your moral attitude, your judgment, because if you're getting angry at people wearing white shoes after Labor Day, really getting angry, there's clearly, you probably think there's some kind of moral violation they committed by wearing those white shoes. They did something, I don't know, insulting or disrespectful. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know why people would care, but some people do, I guess. Maybe they're old now. But you get to reflect on, when you have a strong emotion, you can reflect on, was that the right emotion to have? Or did I overreact? But then you can also reflect on the moral kind of evaluation or attitude that must have been driving that you think there's something morally wrong about footwear. And so you can reflect on whether that's even a good moral judgment to be having. You can reflect on, was this just a product of bias or being silly, or is there something important there? And what is that? Because maybe if it's a very formal party and they're wearing white shoes after Labor Day, maybe you think that is very insulting to you, especially if you told them, please don't wear white shoes after Labor Day to my fancy party. Maybe then it's okay to get angry. We're evaluating, but that's what the normative reflection does. It gives us the chance to see, were we overreacting, or was that an appropriate reaction? Because if you see someone getting beat on the street, you're going to have an emotional reaction, and you're probably going to conclude that there's probably something to that, something important. But what you do with that you have to reflect on. That's where we can bring reason into it. So again, recognizing and acknowledging our emotions gives us the opportunity to think about these things, to learn about ourselves, or to allow reason to help us critically reflect on whether that was a good reaction or not. But again, reason is now giving a pretty powerful role. We're still acknowledging the Hume's insight that emotion really does highlight things that matter to us. But we're recognizing that reason isn't just along for the ride. Reason can be that therapist and ask reason, or ask our emotions, was that okay? Or were we overreacting? What moral values does this suggest we hold? Are those the right moral values to have? Or should we maybe think about it and revise ourselves and what we think about that? So mastering that's a life task. I don't even know if I'm good at it. It's easy, again, for me to say, but it's hard to do, especially when those emotions are powerful. But I think we can appreciate that emotion does play a valuable part in our lives, in our moral lives, and we shouldn't ignore it, but we should figure out how to integrate it with our reason and make them a team, not trying to kill one another, but where reason's trying to help our emotions, make them more productive and useful and not destructive and dangerous, which unfortunately subjectivism might let happen. All right. That's enough. I hope, again, you understand how justification and ethics works. You can see now a place that our emotions will have in that, but reason itself does also have a role in that. And so I think that's enough for all of us today. So again, my favorite time of the videos is always that opportunity to pat ourselves on the back, whoop, 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 get rid of that arm flab. You did it. You've completed another week of modules. You probably maybe have a module quiz left, a few tweets out there that need to go out. That's cool. That's fun. Get on that, and and then you can enjoy the rest of what remains of your week. I hope you've given yourself some time to enjoy yourselves. But as for me, I guess I will let you go and take care of all that. And in the meantime, hey, take care. Stay safe.